again, is looking completely different just from a personnel standpoint than they did a year ago. So excited about the opportunity.
Steve?
Coach, looking at the depth chart, the offensive line construction is a little interesting. Albert at left, and then Zach Owens, a guy that's got here, possibly starting kind of at right guard. Kind of take us through your thoughts about the offensive line.
Yeah, I have continued to talk about just those 5 guys to 8 guys being able to play winning football for us. So you're going to see some guys at different positions. We've got multiple guys that are going to play multiple spots inside of this week 1 as we again try to get to where, man, we've got 8 guys that can go play winning football for us. So those guys they've worked in a great way. They've done some really good things. We're going to need to be able to go play 8 guys through the season at least to do what we want to do.
Landon?
Coach, you've become very accustomed to watching 2024 Marshall football. How confident do you feel about what Southern Miss is going to look like on Saturday?
Yeah, I think there's some unknowns. I really do. You think about it from a personnel standpoint, there's some differences, but again, I expect to see 6, maybe 7 starters for Southern Miss defensively coming from Marshall. So you would think there'd be some carryover. Again, people study themselves nonstop. I think week 1, it's always a little bit up in the air. Offensively, their offensive coordinator and how that situation is set up for them, and not calling it last year. You got to go back a couple of years to be able to watch that tape. So have great familiarity, understand his identity and what he wants to do. But man, until you get out there and you go see it, there's some unknown.
Paul?
Coach, obviously starting your second season, but from just a personal standpoint, how different is this for you compared to going into last year, your first year?
Yeah, there's a lot of differences. I think just the understanding of how we're going to do what we're going to do, how we're going to travel, what that looks like, the hotel routine, the pregame meal routine, our clap session, all the routines that go into, man, helping us get done what we're trying to get done on Saturday. All those things are now year 2, and I think that's a great help. That's a great benefit for our entire staff. Obviously, the guys that have returned, so that part has been good.
Go to Sam, then pass it back down to Steve.
It's not too often you get a power conference school going on the road to play a group of 5 school, especially an in-state one. I mean, what's just your thoughts on playing this game against Southern Miss and what maybe it means for the state, and especially since it's on the schedule in the future too?
Yeah, again, excited about the opportunity, and I think our people inside our state are excited about it as well, being able to see somebody from an opponent standpoint that's in-state as we get ready to go on the road. For our guys, it's about focusing incredibly small and making the most of every single day, and understanding we've got one opportunity Saturday morning at 11 and need to go play really, really well.
Steve?
You've been in that situation, first year coach, flipped over roster and things like that. I mean, do you get the sense that maybe you're going to see like fake punts and trick plays because it's a new era and things like that? I mean, how conscious do you have to be about, you mentioned the unknowns, but just kind of something crazy happening?
Yeah, you try not to chase ghosts, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like we talked about, and there's some unknowns out there, and so you're trying to prepare for everything as we get ready for it, not knowing exactly what it's going to look like on the other side of the ball. But again, to me, the way you do that is you make it really, really simple on both sides of the ball, so that guys can adjust and go play free and fast, depending on what you're going to get.
Coach, you've talked a lot about the talent you've added in the receiver room as well as at running back. As a play caller, is that daunting? Is that fun, trying to draw a call sheet for Saturday?
Absolutely it is. Making sure that the ball's getting in the right guy's hands. And to me, that's my job offensively is to make sure that the right people are touching the football. So we've got the opportunity to spread it to, a number of different guys. We've got to get those guys involved early and often, and that's probably the funnest part.
Sam?
How's just the team doing health and injury wise going into week 1?
Knock on wood, man, we're in a pretty good spot right now. As we've come out of camp and gotten a couple of guys back as of this morning, that's been really good for us. We need to have a great week of work as these guys have gotten back, but we're in a pretty good spot.
Paul?
Coach, we've talked a lot about your running back room and the depth in there. When you get into game mode and game day, is it more of going with the hot hand or keeping the same rotation to keep those guys fresh? Or?
Yeah, it's a mix. I I think it goes back to making sure the right guys are touching the football. And as you get into the flow of the game, there is at times a guy that's got a really hot hand, and you ride that guy at the end of it. You also want to have the ability to make sure that not one guy is getting too loaded down with carries. And so having the ability to split those will be huge for us. We need to be able to play with fresh, fast bodies. We've got depth at that position, which I think is really, really good.
Dave?
Coach, we've heard from a lot of players all preseason about how much they love Isaac, how much he helps the locker room. How much is it to have a guy like that going into your second year that you can depend on for leadership and knows what to tell the guys?
Yeah, again, I talked about it at the beginning of fall camp, talked about it at media days. For him, you know, that's a guy that loves Mississippi State. He loves playing football. He plays the game the way it's supposed to be played, and those are huge for us. We need that. We need it in a bad way, and he'll continue to provide great leadership on that side of the football as we move forward.
Steve?
As a former offensive lineman, I'm sure you're very involved with conversations with Coach Lodeholt, but what has he brought, you know, in the short time that he's been here, just not just from a recruiting standpoint, but maybe a development standpoint?
Yeah, I think how he coaches those guys every single day, the detail, but the toughness and the edge and the physicality, and getting guys to go play the position the way he played it and the way it needs to be played to give us a chance to go win has been really fun to see. Again, there's been this great amount of familiarity with me and him, so I knew exactly what I was getting, and he knew exactly what he was getting. I think it's been great for us to be back together.
Coach, you've talked a lot about this offseason, the excitement you have for the defensive line. Now that it's game week, you know, just how excited are you how excited are you to see them finally work in a live game action?
Yeah, those guys, again, we've gotten a bunch of guys back over the last, 4 to 5 days in that room. Got asked a question just a minute ago, how healthy are we? We're healthy in that room right now, and that's exciting. And I think we've got the ability to roll guys. Going to continue to talk about fresh and fast bodies. We need that in a big way, and that'll be a big part of Saturday morning, but excited to see those guys be able to go cut it loose.
Joel?
Coach Blake gets his official return to action, I guess, this Saturday. Can you just, delve into a little bit what he's meant to this program over the course of the last 10 months or so, and obviously off the field, but learning more and more about this offense, getting to bring along Luke and Camario, just everything that he's meant the last 10 months or so.
Yeah, I'd be up here for a little while if I talked about all of it, but I couldn't be more proud of a guy and how he's responded. I think as he went through what he went through a year ago, to see him today, his leadership, he's a guy that walks into this building every day the exact same, and you know exactly what you're going to get. And there's a lot of noise for young people, and especially at that position. For him to have the ability to block it out and go focus on doing his job, there's been this incredible amount of growth in year 2 in the offense, our conversations. So I'm excited for a ton of our guys. I'm excited for our football team, our program, and our fans. I'm excited for Blake to be able to get out there and go play.
Anything else? Marcus?
Coach, one thing I've been hearing a lot from the defense is how much more togetherness they have as a group this year. Kind of talk about what you've seen from that side of the ball and, their chemistry and, how they are playing more together as a team.
Yeah, I think the immediacy of noticing it for me is in walkthroughs and their urgency and how they communicate, how they align, how they talk, how everybody's getting the rep. To me, when you watch our defense walk through right now, there's this great sense of urgency and there's this great sense of togetherness. And so that's been fun for me to watch, fun to see. We've got to continue to build on that. I think they really have taken to Coach Hutz's edge and his passion and how he coaches and runs around every single day, every minute of every single day. And there's been this great amount of buy-in in that. And so, again, excited about that unit being able to go play well on Saturday morning.
Robbie?
Coach, sorry if I missed this earlier, but Albert Reese listed him at left tackle.
Yep.
I know he's been running some of the right tackle and guard too. What did you see from him to put him at that spot, and what's your opinion on what you've seen from left tackle?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit ago, but we're going to roll at that position. There's going to be multiple guys play at that spot, and we'll have a couple of guys inside the game played a couple of different positions. Those guys will be guys that have played a bunch of football, that we feel like can handle that. But we're fighting every single day to make sure that we're playing the right guys at the right position. That's why they call us coach. And as we get closer and closer, we'll dial into exactly what that rotation is going to look like Saturday.
Rod?
Coach, obviously everyone wants to win their first game. That's the goal for everybody. But what else would you like to see out of your team this week to, as a coach, that would make you happy?
Yeah, I do. I want to see our guys play with incredible effort, incredible physicality, and be able to go execute and play clean. We talk about that's how we will win. That's playing winning football. And so I do. I want to have the ability to get off that field, be 1-0, and go play clean. And for us, that's going to be a huge part of it. Pre-snap penalties, taking care of the football, hidden yardage, and special teams. That'll be a big piece of it.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.